Right, welcome back. We're in Sandton today talking about leadership, nurturing leadership, and creating the kind of leadership that we need, particularly in this period, in this phase of our country as democracy, and trying to build this future that we're all desperate to enjoy, to make sure that the challenges that we face get addressed. And our guests today, the Minister of Energy, Tina Joemat-Pettersson, and Dr. Myles Munroe, international leader, life coach, author, mentor. He's got a whole list, and it comes with 3 decades of experience working internationally with governments, educational institutions, businesses, you name it. And so we're very fortunate to have him with us in this country at this time. And let's explore this question of leadership. Minister, you're sitting in energy now, and we really are at a transitional point on all levels in terms of what can happen next, and energy is one of those pillars. And just before you were saying we're going to need this radical kind of powerful leadership, brave leadership. What do you see that as that's going to take us through the next phase? You know, the President has called on radical social economic transformation, and you mentioned that just before the break. And you also said that you were inspired during the struggle by Dr. Munroe. What lessons would you take from him that you're going to take to your office that's going to help us have a radical energy department?
I remember during the 1980 school boycott, and I'm not afraid to divulge my age. So we had what we would call banned literature. And we knew that we had to hide it, we had to read it in little corners, and we had to make sure that we are not found with the banned literature. And somehow, Dr. Munroe's book was smuggled amongst the banned literature. And I wondered, but what was this book doing with banned literature when it's all about religion? Mm. Until I read it and discovered it was about leadership. It was about brave leadership, having the courage of your convictions, and knowing that if you were true to your principles, to kingdom principles, you would be chastised, you would be misunderstood, but you would be able to have that vision that is required. Now, I grew up in a very spiritual family. And the state church, which was the Dutch Reformed Church then, was a very racist church. And it's the way I learned that people in God's pastures, we all walk free. And it was a white Afrikaner dominee who was the developer of that thought. Dominee could see and his wife. They were the leaders in the struggle in a very conservative rural town. Now, if you receive that message in a conservative Kimberley and you are reading books of different leaders, global leaders, I managed to have Angela Davis as part of the menu. You never expect in your wild lifetime that you're going to meet these people in your lifetime. Mm. So we are humbled and honored, firstly, that we have seen freedom, and secondly, that we have met these leaders in our lifetime. But we don't cherish these leaders. So we forget where we come from, as Dr. Munroe has always taught us, that we must remember our history. We cannot forget our past. And when in South Africa today we speak of our past, we are inclined to be told, forget about your past, you cannot blame apartheid. You cannot blame apartheid when you seek economic transformation. And it's not about blaming, it's about the reality that we have had our political freedom, But I learned in agriculture, forestry, and fisheries that if you have to transfer resources to the black majority of this country, the opposition that you will receive will be the biggest challenge in your life and in your leadership. Agriculture was one of the last bastions of apartheid, where transformation was extremely difficult. Education, the same. But our challenges today, when we face the challenges of our economy, if you look at energy and the energy mix, the decisions we took earlier, that's why we have to remember our history. We have to understand our history. The decisions we took under apartheid, the decisions we took over the 20 years of our democracy, have culminated in a situation that we are now. And acknowledging the good decisions we took, but also the limitations in certain decisions we took, will allow us to deliver the power and the energy this country deserves.
All right, now, talking about energy, and let's just get this out of the way. Corporate Governance Minister Pravin Gordhan highlighted that our municipalities owe something in the region of 10.8 billion rand. Now, is it a lack of skills, lack of leadership? And what effect is that going to have for us? What do we need to do to fix this? Because it must be a concern if these municipalities, and I think last time we spoke, you talked about infrastructure and municipal problems in the energy security question. Talk to us about the leadership that's required there, and are there skills there actually?
The skills are there, the leadership is there. The will to work as a collective has to come together. And the will for the four ministers, cooperative governance, the Minister of Energy, the Minister of Public Enterprises, and Treasury to work together is there. And that is why we've been able to move in a very short space of time, 3 months, to work on and build on what our predecessors did, but also to harness the skills which exist in ESCOM, in our municipalities, to build a united front around energy. The electricity theft, the theft of copper wires, our billing systems, people receiving a municipal account of 30,000 rand, 40,000 rand, the efficiencies in billing, the challenges of ensuring that we have the right supply at the right time is going to be addressed and has to be addressed. We cannot offer an investor an opportunity in mining and then tell the investor that we cannot guarantee you an energy supply. That will be a disaster.
Okay, Dr. Munroe, you've been at this 30 years, leading, teaching leaders, mentoring them. I've traveled the continent quite a bit, and every conference that I go to, everybody knows what to do. Everybody knows what needs to be done, but they keep saying that leadership is the issue. What is the problem? Why do we have this crisis?
I'm just listening to Minister talk about the challenges here in South Africa regarding the conflicting interests in the area of energy. And I'm thinking that she's talking about many countries, including my own. The area of energy itself is key to driving productivity, driving investment. It's necessary for the development of infrastructure. It's almost sacred when you talk about inviting external investment into your country. Energy is key. And if you can't provide it, sustain it, and keep it at a standard that can create confidence, you're going to find that your economy continues to lag and maybe even begin to decrease. So the area of energy is probably, I'd say, the next level of national development next to government itself. And of course, through the years in your history, energy has been, I guess, relegated to just a certain level of peoples. And many people lived in darkness and didn't have access to the benefits of energy. So I don't want South Africa to be too hard on itself. South Africa is 20 years old. You are a baby still. I think you should never compare yourself with countries like the United States or Canada or Great Britain or France. And I think even those countries do an injustice when they treat you as equal to them. You are not equal to them. They've been around for 300 years as democracies. You're 20 years. So you are an adolescent. And so I think the number one thing I would say about this stress that you have to go through, the transition, is to be a little bit more patient with yourself and don't try to compare yourself with countries that have been at this for 300 years, 200 years. With regards to leadership, leadership determines everything. Nothing happens without leadership. Nothing develops without leadership. Nothing changes without leadership. Nothing is transformed without someone taking responsibility. So leadership is the key and the foundation for all development in any organization, including a country. And leadership determines the quality of a country. The problem is, it's difficult to produce leaders better than yourself if you educated them in your own systems. And so sometimes, as soon as we promote someone in leadership, we expect them to be smarter than we are, wiser than we are more talented, and we forget that they came from us. I think what we need to do is to train the populace more about what is good leadership. Because if you don't know how to identify effective leadership, quality leadership, you continue to get mediocrity in leadership. Most politicians confuse leadership with politics. There's a big difference between a politician and a leader. For example, politicians, they think of the next election. Leaders think of the next generation. Politicians think of keeping their seat. Leaders think of giving up their seat to the next generation. Politicians think of preserving themselves. Leaders think of preserving the unborn. So you got two mentalities going on, and most politicians become leaders by vote. True leaders become leaders by struggle. So you can become a leader in a day and not be a leader. If you win an election, doesn't mean you are a leader. It means you are a politician. Even in religion, you can become a pastor in a day. Doesn't mean you know how to lead a church. So don't confuse position and power and title with leadership. And most of the people who got titles and position and power are not leaders. They are glorified managers who are confused. And so what we need, is to be very careful how we identify a leader. For example, true leaders never seek leadership. If you study all the great leaders in history, they never wanted leadership. What happened to them was they discovered a problem in society that they wanted to solve. They found a solution necessary for a problem, and they decided to sacrifice themselves to become that solution. That's what makes them a leader. So true leaders never seek power. They seek to empower people. True leaders never seek position. They seek to actually to put people in positions. So leadership is misunderstood. Great leaders like your own former president, Nelson Mandela, he was a lawyer. You know, just a simple lawyer, wanted to run a firm, but he saw a problem. And he decided, I am willing to sacrifice my life, my family, even my children, to solve that problem. So leaders are born out of conviction that is gravitated to sacrifice. True leaders, therefore, never live for themselves. They live for people. People ask me many times, what makes a vision of a leader a true vision? My answer is simple. Any vision that promotes the leader is not a vision, it's ambition. True leaders always promote other people. it makes other people's lives different. And true vision never destroys humans, it never devalues humans, and it never disadvantages humans. All true visions protect human dignity, promote human value, and protect humans' future. Anyone who says they are a leader, but they're not affecting people positively, are basically ambitious managers who are looking for their own self-promotion.
All right. Okay. We're going to have to take another quick commercial break. And when we come back, I want us to explore morality and character, because I think often we get stuck in the rules. And if you're not breaking the law, are you still exercising leadership? And I know that that's something that's close to your heart. All of that coming up after this. Stay with us.
Y'all can clap now.